Hey everyone, it's Sue, and today I am going to be participating in another Try It Tuesday challenge hosted by Unicorn Dust Designs and co-hosted by Rebecca Virginia DIY. Now I will put a link to their channels below as well as a link to the playlist for all of the collaborators in this open collaboration. Now what you have to do basically is pick 3 YouTubers that you really love their creations and you try to make it and just give them a shout out. So before we get started, I wanted to remind you about our June Summer Movie Challenge starting this month. I will put a list of the movies that we will be doing in the description box below, so please make sure that you check it out, along with the list of rules, in that you must be subscribed to my channel and you must mention the collaboration in your video. You also have to make sure that you upload on the appropriate day at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and on the specific date for the movie that you choose. Now you can do any kind of DIY or art project that you like, it just has to be in the theme of the specific movie. You should also explain in your video how your project does reflect that theme. And lastly, make sure you have the correct hashtag in your title, which will be listed below, and make sure to tell your followers to follow that hashtag so they can see the whole playlist. Now our first movie coming up on June the 2nd is National Lampoon's Vacation with Chevy Chase. So get your projects ready for June the 2nd and make sure you share this challenge with all of your crafty, artsy friends. Good luck, and I can't wait to see what you guys come up with for our summer movie challenge. So I thought it was more than fitting that my first YouTuber would be one of our hosts, Unicorn Dust Designs. Now I love all of her projects, and she did this whole series on tumbling tower projects. And since I don't have a lot of supplies on hand, but I did stock up on tumbling tower blocks, I thought I could take one of her little coaster designs and just kind of run with it. So I decided that I didn't really want a coaster, but I was going to make it a bit bigger and maybe make it into like a little plant stand. So I used a box of the mini tumbling tower blocks that I had on hand, put them in groups of 3, and then rotated them in the portrait and landscape position. Then I glued them together to make a block of 9 of these little groups of 3. So for now I left them in their natural wood color, but Sammi from Unicorn Dust Designs had a really great idea on her video where she takes a whole bunch of them, puts them in like a casserole dish, pours a pot of black coffee on them and lets them soak for a while, and then either air dries them or puts them in the oven on a low heat, and they come out a nice light brown color. I thought maybe next time I'll try that. Now the thing with these tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree is they're not all perfectly the right size, but I thought rustic is good. So I flipped over my square and then I put the rest of my little pieces on here to make some legs to make my little trivet or plant stand, and I affixed them with my Gorilla Hot Glue. Now I wanted to use one of my stencils that I got from my Beebeecraft haul, and if you missed that you can click on the link above to see all the amazing products that I got. But the white paint on the stencil itself wasn't really showing up, so I decided just to paint over the whole little trivet with white paint and then use the stencil with a bit darker color. So I just used some white acrylic paint to cover the whole thing, and then I taped down the stencil, and I used some gold acrylic paint that I had as well and this little dauber to daub all over the stencil, and then I peeled it off. So the design wasn't perfect, but it was rustic and I thought it looked pretty cute. So when it was completely dry, I covered it with a coat of Mod Podge, and here's how it looks. I think it'll look even cuter with a little potted plant on it. Now this next project was inspired by So CraftDee, and I absolutely love her channel. You'll have to go check it out. Every single DIY she makes looks so high-end, so professional, and just amazing. And I just fell in love with this little lantern that she made, which actually turned out to be a lot bigger than I thought. So I used some more of my Tumbling Tower Blocks and some of the stain, and I glued them together using my hot glue gun, the Gorilla Glue. But if I did this project again, I think I would use the actual liquid Gorilla Glue just to hold it together in place a little bit sturdier. So I glued together 3 of the blocks and made 16 sets of these and set them aside. Now she stained all of her blocks before gluing them together, but I thought it might be a little bit faster to put it all together first and then stain it. We'll see how that works. And I used my antique wax for this. So once I had all my sets together, I just used this square and glued 1 tumbling tower block on each of the ends of my 3-piece sets. Then I glued one where the little joints were and put them on too. Then I took another set of 3 and glued that onto this piece. Next, another 2 pieces on the ends. Then another set of 3. Four more pieces in the vertical position, and then lastly another set of 3. And then you had to repeat this for the other 3 panels. Now this was a time-consuming project, but it turned out really, really nice. So like I said, I had started to individually stain the little tumbling tower blocks, but I thought it might go faster if I assembled everything first and then put the stain on. Now using this antique wax, normally you apply it and then you rub off the excess, but I used a sponge foam brush, and I found that that kind of cut out the middleman, because I could put it on and then use the sponge to sort of wipe off the excess all in one, and it saved a bit of time. So I repeated the process, getting all the nooks and crannies for all 4 panels. Then I happened to have on hand these cutting mats from the Dollar Tree that I had bought months ago, going to use them for stencils, but she used them as frosted glass for her lantern. That was ingenious. So basically you just cut out the shape to be a little bit smaller than each of the frame, and you cut out 1 for each piece. you have to make sure you trim them down a little bit so that some of the wood is showing for when you glue the panels together. Now for each panel, decide which side is the pretty side and put that down, and then put the frosted side facing down of the cutting mat and the shiny side facing you so that the frosted side will shine out. Now she suggested gluing the cutting mat to the wooden frame in sections, so I thought I would try that. So just putting some hot glue on the top part, then pressing the cutting mat into it, and then flattening out the glue and going on to the next section, and then finally the third section. That seemed to work for getting it nice and flat. So next, the tricky part was to glue all the 4 panels together to make a box. And if you worked quickly, it actually wasn't too bad. You just made sure you used the square to make sure everything was level. So it was actually 1 jumbo popsicle stick short from what she had, so I ended up using the smaller sticks to affix the larger ones on the back. So I just lined up the big jumbo sticks, then I took the smaller popsicle sticks and placed them horizontally across and glued them on with some Gorilla Glue. Once that dried, I placed the lantern on top, traced around with a pencil, and cut off the excess popsicle sticks just with a X-Acto knife and a pair of scissors. Then I stained it and glued the base onto the bottom of the lantern. And finally I had to dig out my fairy lights or my flickering candle and put it inside, and I thought it looked pretty high-end. Let me know what you think. And this last Tumbling Tower project was brought to you by Bonnie Blings, and she made this really cute little succulent planter. She actually had a whole hour-long video with a variety of different planters, so you should definitely go and check that out. There's one for every mood. So her base was a little wooden crate, but I didn't have any on hand, so I decided to use the Tumbling Tower box and just cut out the opening. Then I thought I would use my liquid Gorilla Glue and put the blocks on, one horizontally, one vertically, horizontally, and vertically all the way around. Once all the glue was dried, I just took a sharp pair of scissors and cut off any of the cardboard box that was sticking up a little bit. Then I took my antiquing wax and my foam brush again and went over the whole entire planter, including the inside. So once it was completely dry, I took my sanding little block from the Dollar Tree and just got off any little pieces of cardboard that might still be sticking out. Then I decided to cover up the bottom just to make it look nice. So I took my Gorilla Glue and put it all over the bottom of the box and set it down on a piece of craft paper. Now luckily I happened to have a bag of stones from the Dollar Tree from eons ago, and I thought that's going to be perfect because I have to fill up my little planter with the stones, plus that will weight it down while it dries. So I filled up my little planter with the stones, put a little succulent in it. Then once the glue was dry, I just used a craft knife and a pair of scissors to cut off the excess craft paper so that I had a nice smooth bottom for my planter. So make sure you let me know in the comment section below which one of these DIYs you like the best, and make sure you check out everybody's projects in the playlist listed below. See you next time on Discovering the Art of Living.